19 Slow Living Habits That Simplified My Life. As we move through life, especially after the rush of careers, raising children, and fulfilling various responsibilities, many of us begin to ask, what truly matters? How can we slow down and savor the moments that are left, rather than chasing after things that might not bring us the peace or fulfillment we long for? Over the years, I've found that simplicity, intentionality, and a slower pace can create a more meaningful life, especially for those of us in our later years. Here are 19 habits that have helped me simplify my life and find a greater sense of peace and presence. These ideas may seem small, but their impact can be profound, especially when embraced as part of a more intentional way of living. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. 5 minutes of reflection. One of the simplest yet most profound habits I've adopted is taking 5 minutes of quiet reflection every day. In a world that often pushes us to be constantly busy, carving out this small pocket of time to just sit with my thoughts has become an anchor in my daily life. There's something special about allowing yourself to pause and let your mind wander without agenda or purpose. For many of us who have spent decades working, raising families, and staying busy, this quiet time feels like a gift, a way to reconnect with ourselves. At this stage in life, we've gained so much wisdom, and reflection becomes a way to harvest the lessons we've learned over the years. These moments can also serve as a time to reflect on the many blessings in our lives, both big and small, whether it's gratitude for a grandchild's smile, the warmth of a sunny day, or the love of a dear friend. These 5 minutes help us remember what truly matters. The habit of reflection is not about clearing your mind but about letting your thoughts settle like dust after a storm until the important things rise to the surface. 2. Create device-free spaces. The world today is filled with noise, and much of it comes from the devices we carry with us everywhere. Our phones, tablets, and TVs have become constant companions, but they can also be barriers between us and the peace we crave. One of the best decisions I made was to create device-free zones in my home, spaces where the TV stays off, the phone is left in another room, and I am fully present. For me, these spaces include my bedroom and dining room. In the bedroom, I find that I sleep better without the distraction of screens, and waking up without immediately reaching for my phone allows me to ease into the day with more clarity and intention. The dining room, free of distractions, becomes a place where meaningful conversations can flourish, whether with loved ones over dinner or during quiet moments of reflection. As we age, these device-free spaces become even more important. They remind us that the real world, the one we can touch, smell, and see without a screen, is full of beauty and connection. These spaces become sanctuaries where we can engage with the present moment, free from the constant pings and pulls of technology. It's a small change, but one that can greatly enhance the quality of our days. 3. Drive the speed limit and enjoy the journey. There was a time in my life when I felt the need to hurry everywhere, driving from one appointment to the next, rushing to get things done. But I've learned over the years that life isn't a race, and there's so much to be gained from simply slowing down. One small way I practice this is by consciously driving the speed limit. It might sound simple, but intentionally slowing down has become a powerful reminder to enjoy the journey, both on the road and in life. When you're not rushing from one place to another, you start to notice the world around you in ways you might have missed before: the sunlight filtering through the trees, the rhythm of people going about their day, the quiet moments that unfold along the way. All of these things become more visible when you're not in a hurry. For older adults who might not have the same time constraints we once had, this habit can be especially rewarding. It allows us to savor the beauty of each moment and to be more present in our everyday lives. So the next time you're on the road, try driving the speed limit, not just as a safety measure, but as a way to reconnect with the world around you. 4. Take the longer line. In a culture that values speed and efficiency, it might seem counterintuitive to intentionally choose the longest line at the grocery store, but this small act is a way of practicing patience and embracing the slower pace of life. For me, it's become a gentle reminder that not everything needs to be rushed and that waiting has its own rewards. Standing in a long line offers an opportunity to observe the world around you, to notice the kindness of a cashier, the way people interact, or simply to appreciate the quiet moments of pause that are so rare in our fast-paced world. It's also a chance to let go of the need to control every minute of the day and to realize that a few extra minutes in line won't make a difference in the grand scheme of things. As we age, we begin to understand that life is not measured by how quickly we move through it but by the quality of the moments we experience along the way. Choosing the longer line, in some small way, is a practice of living fully in each of those moments. 5. Prioritize time with family. There's a deep and abiding wisdom that comes with age, and one of the most important lessons I've learned is that time with family is irreplaceable. Our relationships with loved ones, whether it's our children, grandchildren, or close friends, are among the most valuable things we possess. In our later years, these connections often take on even greater meaning as we reflect on the preciousness of time and the joy that comes from simply being together. I've made it a priority to spend as much time as possible with my family, and this has been one of the most fulfilling choices I've made, whether it's a Sunday afternoon with my grandchildren, a quiet meal with my spouse, or a phone call with an old friend. These moments of connection fill my life with purpose and meaning. For many of us, family has been the cornerstone of our lives, and as we enter our later years, it's important to nurture these bonds. This may mean being present for family gatherings, offering support when needed, or simply taking the time to listen and share stories. In these moments, we are reminded of the love that surrounds us and the ways in which our lives are intertwined with those we hold dear. 6. Focus on one task each day. In our younger years, it's easy to feel like we need to accomplish a dozen things at once. But as we grow older, we begin to realize that life is not about how much we can get done in a day. It's about doing what truly matters and doing it well. That's why I've adopted the habit of focusing on just one meaningful task each day. Whether it's writing a letter, tending to a garden, or organizing old photographs, I choose one thing that will bring a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. By giving my full attention to a single task, I find that I am more present and more engaged in the process. This practice also helps to reduce the overwhelm that can come from a long to-do list and allows me to savor the satisfaction of completing something that matters. For older adults, this approach to daily life can be especially rewarding. It reminds us that we don't need to be constantly busy to feel productive, and that sometimes the greatest joy comes from doing one thing with care and intention. 7. Plan tomorrow tonight. One of the simplest habits I've adopted to simplify my life is planning for the next day the night before. This small act of preparation can have a profound impact on how we feel when we wake up in the morning. By taking a few minutes in the evening to think about the day ahead, writing down my top priorities, laying out my clothes, and preparing my coffee, I set myself up for a calm and organized morning. This habit has become especially important as I've grown older. There's a sense of peace that comes from knowing what the next day will hold, and from being prepared for it. Instead of waking up feeling scattered or stressed, I can start the day with a sense of purpose and direction. For those of us in our later years, when memory might not be as sharp as it once was, this habit can also help us stay on track with appointments, social engagements, and daily tasks. It's a simple way to reduce mental clutter and create more space for the things that truly matter. 8. Wake up with consistency. One of the most powerful ways to simplify life is to create a consistent routine. For me, that starts with waking up at the same time each morning. I've found that waking up early, before the rest of the world stirs, gives me a quiet space to begin the day with intention. Whether it's sipping a cup of coffee, reading, or just sitting quietly, these early morning moments have become a cherished part of my routine. There's something comforting about knowing that each day begins the same way. It brings a sense of rhythm and stability to life, especially in times when the demands on our time may differ from those we faced in our working years. For those of us who are retired or have more flexible schedules, waking up consistently can help us stay grounded and present. This habit also gives me a sense of control over my day. By waking up early with purpose, I'm able to set the tone for a slower, more intentional pace rather than feeling rushed or reactive to the demands of the day. 9. Write it down. As we age, it's natural to find that our memory isn't as sharp as it once was, but instead of letting that become a source of frustration, I've found that writing things down can be an incredibly effective way to stay organized and reduce stress. Whether it's a grocery list, an appointment, or a thought that comes to mind, I make a habit of jotting it down as soon as possible. For me, this practice has been a game changer. It frees up mental space and ensures that I don't forget important details. It's also a great way to keep track of ideas or projects that I want to revisit later. Whether you use a notebook, a calendar, or the Notes app on your phone, writing things down can help you stay on top of everything and feel more in control of your life. This habit is especially important as we get older, when we may have more doctor's appointments, social engagements, or commitments with family. By keeping a written record, we can reduce the mental load and focus on enjoying the present moment. 10. Finish what you start. There's a sense of peace that comes from completing something you've started, whether it's a project around the house, a book you've been reading, or even a conversation you've been meaning to have. In my younger years, I often found myself starting things with enthusiasm only to leave them unfinished as other tasks and responsibilities piled up. But as I've gotten older, I've made it a point to finish what I begin. This habit has brought a sense of closure and accomplishment to my life. It's not just about ticking things off a list, it's about following through on commitments, both to myself and to others. Whether it's finally fixing that broken chair in the living room or completing a puzzle, finishing what we start allows us to clear the mental clutter and create space for new ideas, new experiences, and new joys. For older adults, this practice can be particularly meaningful. It's a way of honoring the time and effort we've put into something and of recognizing that completion, however small, brings its own reward. 11. Stay calm in the face of adversity. Over the years, life has taught me that there's very little we can control, but we do have control over how we respond to the challenges that come our way. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is to stay calm, no matter what. Whether it's a difficult conversation, a frustrating situation, or a moment of personal hardship, choosing to remain calm has allowed me to navigate life's ups and downs with greater grace and resilience. This doesn't mean that I don't feel anger, frustration, or sadness at times. It's only human to experience these emotions. But I've learned that reacting in anger or frustration often makes the situation worse. Instead, I take a deep breath, give myself a moment to think, and respond from a place of calm and thoughtfulness. For those of us in our later years, this ability to stay calm is especially important as we face the inevitable challenges of aging, from health concerns to the loss of loved ones. Remaining calm can help us find peace in the midst of difficulty and approach life with a sense of inner strength and resilience, knowing that we have the power to choose how we respond, even when we cannot control the circumstances. 12. Choose gratitude over worry. Worry is something we all experience, but as I've grown older, I've come to realize that worrying rarely changes anything. Instead, it just robs us of our peace in the present moment. One of the most important habits I've developed is choosing gratitude over worry. When I start to feel anxious about something, whether it's a health issue, a family matter, or something beyond my control, I try to shift my focus to the things I'm grateful for. This simple shift in perspective has made a huge difference in my life. Instead of getting lost in a spiral of worry, I remind myself of my many blessings, my health, my family, the beauty of the world around me. Gratitude doesn't make our problems go away, but it helps to put them in perspective. It reminds us that despite the challenges we face, there is always something to be thankful for. For older adults, this practice of gratitude can be especially powerful. It's a way to find joy in the simple things, like a morning cup of coffee, a phone call from a friend, or the feeling of the sun on your face. Gratitude is a way of embracing the present moment and finding peace, even in the midst of life's challenges. 13. Grow through learning. Learning doesn't stop when we retire or reach a certain age. In fact, it's something we can and should continue throughout our lives. I've made it a habit to keep growing through learning, whether it's reading a new book, listening to an interesting podcast, or taking a class on something I've always wanted to explore. This commitment to growth has brought a sense of vitality and curiosity to my life that I deeply cherish. For many older adults, learning can be a way to stay engaged with the world and keep our minds sharp. It's also a reminder that we are never too old to learn something new, to explore new interests, or to challenge ourselves in new ways. Whether it's picking up a new hobby, learning a new skill, or simply staying informed about the things that interest us, growth through learning is a powerful way to stay connected to the world and to ourselves. 14. Disconnect from negative news. There was a time in my life when I followed the news closely, staying up to date on every headline and development. But over the years, I realized that much of what we hear in the news is negative, and it often leaves us feeling anxious, stressed, or helpless. That's why I've made the conscious decision to disconnect from negative news. I'm not suggesting that we bury our heads in the sand or ignore important world issues, but I've found that limiting my exposure to the constant stream of bad news has allowed me to focus more on the things I can control and less on the things I cannot. Instead of spending hours watching the news or scrolling through social media, I choose to spend my time doing things that bring me joy, like gardening, reading, or spending time with loved ones. For older adults who may be more vulnerable to feelings of isolation or anxiety, disconnecting from negative news can be an important step toward preserving mental health and well-being. It's a way of protecting our peace and focusing on the things that truly matter in our own lives. 15. Live within your means. One of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is the value of living within my means. It's easy to get caught up in the desire for more, whether it's a bigger house, a new car, or the latest gadgets. But I've found that true happiness doesn't come from material possessions. It comes from living a life that is aligned with our values and within our financial means. Living within your means not only brings financial security, but it also brings a sense of freedom. When you're not constantly chasing after the next purchase or worried about debt, you have more time and energy to focus on the things that really matter. For older adults, this can be especially important as we plan for retirement and ensure that our resources are used wisely. It's not about depriving ourselves of the things we enjoy, but about being mindful of our spending and making choices that reflect our priorities. By living within our means, we create space for more peace, more joy, and more freedom in our lives. 16. Embrace the simple joys. As we grow older, we begin to realize that the simple things in life are often the most meaningful. A warm cup of tea, a walk in the park, a quiet moment spent with a loved one. These are the moments that bring true joy and contentment. Embracing these simple joys has become one of the most important habits I've developed in my later years. For me, this has meant slowing down and being more present in the everyday moments of life. Whether it's taking the time to enjoy a meal, savoring a good book, or watching the sunset, I've learned to appreciate the beauty and richness of the small things. For older adults, this practice of embracing the simple joys can be especially rewarding. It's a way of finding meaning in the present moment, and recognizing that we don't need grand experiences or material wealth to feel fulfilled. The joy we seek is often right in front of us, waiting to be noticed and appreciated. 17. Let go of perfectionism. For much of my life, I strived for perfection in everything I did, whether it was in my career, my home, or my relationships. But as I've grown older, I've come to realize that perfection is not only unattainable, it's also unnecessary. Letting go of perfectionism has been one of the most liberating things I've done. Life is messy, and we are all imperfect, but that's what makes it beautiful. Instead of focusing on doing everything perfectly, I've learned to focus on doing my best and accepting that sometimes things won't go exactly as planned. This shift in mindset has brought a sense of peace and self-compassion that I didn't have before. For older adults, letting go of perfectionism can be especially important. It allows us to embrace the imperfections of life and to focus on what truly matters: love, connection, and the joy of simply being ourselves. 18. Spend time in nature. There's something incredibly healing about spending time in nature, whether it's a walk in the park, a hike in the mountains, or simply sitting outside and listening to the birds. Nature has a way of calming the mind and soothing the soul. I've made it a habit to spend time in nature every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. For older adults, this connection with nature can be especially important. It's a way of staying active, reducing stress, and finding peace in the beauty of the natural world. Whether it's gardening, bird watching, or simply enjoying the fresh air, spending time in nature reminds us of the simple yet profound beauty that surrounds us every day. 19. Practice mindful breathing. One of the simplest yet most effective habits I've adopted is the practice of mindful breathing. Whenever I start to feel stressed or overwhelmed, I take a few deep breaths, focusing on the sensation of the air moving in and out of my body. This simple practice helps to calm my mind, reduce anxiety, and bring me back to the present moment. For older adults, mindful breathing can be a powerful tool for managing stress and finding peace in everyday life. It's a way of grounding ourselves in the present and reminding ourselves that no matter what challenges we face, we can always return to the breath. In the end, life's richness isn't found in how fast we move or how much we accumulate, but in the quiet, meaningful moments we choose to savor. By slowing down and living with intention, we create space for joy, reflection, and connection. These habits aren't about changing who we are. They're about embracing the simplicity and beauty that already surround us. No matter where you are in life's journey, remember that the moments you cherish today will become the memories that sustain you tomorrow. Choose to live fully, slowly, and with gratitude. Thank you for watching the entire video. If you find these stories inspiring and motivating, please comment 1. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.